Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is the third video of my Fantasy Caro Kann masterclass, and the move which we will be taking a closer look at today is the move d takes e4 from the black side. So without further ado, let's begin. So after black takes on e4, we simply recapture, claiming a very large chunk of the center. And in this position, as mentioned in the introductory video, the only move black has to maintain any sort of equality is the move pawn to e5. Okay, any other move which black plays leads to advantage for white. A very common move at the lower level is the move knight to f6. But here we simply play e5, knight d5, pawn to c4, knight to b6. We develop both of our knights, something like pawn to e6, and a very nice move in this position is bishop to d3, eliminating black's only active piece. And already in this position, white is completely winning. The engine gives about plus 1.7, plus 1.8. Yeah, this is just a very nice position. The way that this game can continue is something like bishop d3, queen d3, bishop e7, and something like short castles here. Very typical in the d takes e4 variation, we have the open f file. This is a huge bonus. We have a very nice queen. Both of our knights are very nicely developed. We have a very large center, and black is very cramped. These two pawns are very cramped. This knight is going to have a very hard time actually finding a way out, and black's natural development is simply stunted. So like I mentioned before, pawn to e5 is the only serious move. Here we play knight to f3. Very important. Really pay attention to this diagonal. Okay, really pay attention. Remember, we played f3 early on. After d takes e4, we took back with the f pawn. This diagonal is very weak. Really keep this in mind. Okay, for this reason, we cannot play a move like d takes e5. This is very bad because of something like queen h4 check, g3, queen takes e4, we either move our king or the rook on h1 is lost. This is very bad. Okay, we need to cover the h4 square with the knight. So knight to f3, and in this position, black has 3 moves. Okay, 2 moves are considered the main moves, and there's 1 move which black can play, which is a bit annoying. It's not played that often, but it's good to know what to do against it. So let's begin with the most common move, which is bishop to g4. Here we simply play the move bishop to c4, really looking at this f7 pawn, okay? And as mentioned in the introductory video, the only move for black is the move knight bd7, okay? Any other move for black leads to advantage for white. For example, if black plays the move knight to f6, we have the very nice and beautiful tactic, bishop h7, knight e5, okay? The king is going to have to move somewhere. We're going to end up taking on g4. We're going to be up 2 pawns here. This is a completely winning position. Now, I did mention that knight d7 is the only move. Technically, black can also play the move queen to e7. This works, right? You're defending against the f7 pawn, but this is very unnatural, okay? It's very difficult for this dark squared bishop to now get out. And very often, black will have to spend so many tempo playing something like g6, bishop h6, just to get the dark squared bishop out, because the queen on e7 is on such a strange square. Okay, so how can this look like after something like queen to e7? Here we simply castle, right? Remember the open f file. This is a huge bonus here. And in this position, black will play knight to d7. Here we play c3, a very common move, pawn to c3 to simply solidify our center. Knight gf6, knight bd2, and as mentioned before, pawn to g6. Okay, really looking to get the bishop out. In this position, we play a very nice move, queen to e1. Okay, this is a very common motive in the d takes e4 variation. You're really looking to swing your queen over either to h4 or to g3, depending on the position. Okay, in the previous video, in the e6 variation, we had queen to d2, queen to f2. This was kind of the rotate we have, but here we're really looking at queen e1, queen h4, or queen g3. Okay, so after queen to e1, black's going to play bishop h6, getting the bishop out. Here we can play queen to h4, right, targeting this bishop on h6. Black might give this check on e3, no problem, we just slide our king. And after something like bishop f3, knight f3, ed4, cd4, bishop c1, rook c1, we get a huge liquidation. knight takes e4. This is a mistake. We have the move bishop to f7 check, or bishop takes f7 check. If the queen were to take the bishop on f7, the knight on e4 would drop, right? The queen is overloaded. And if the king were to take, here we have the very, very nice move, knight to e5 check. Okay, we are slicing the connection between the queen and the knight. The king moves, we take on e4. We're plus 1.3 here. Black cannot castle. We have a very nice center. We have the open f file. We really keep this in mind. We're completely winning here. Okay, so let's look at the main move, knight d7. Here we simply castle. This is the move I recommend. And once again, black has an only move, knight g f6. If black plays something like bishop to e7, now once again we have bishop takes f7 check. Okay, and after king f7, previously we couldn't take on e5 because the knight was here. The difference now is that we have the open f file. Okay, very, very common in the d takes e4 variation. Now when we take on e5, it's a double check. Okay, the king will have to move. We take on g4. We are simply much, much better. Once again, black can play the move queen to e7, and once again, black will have a very, very difficult time developing this bishop on f8. So we do the exact same thing as we did before. We play c3, gain a huge center, knight gf6, knight bd2, black goes with pawn to g6, and the very, very important move, what did I mention before? Queen e1. Okay, we're really looking at queen h4 or queen g3. Bishop h6, we get the same thing as before. Queen h4, bishop e3, king h1. We get this huge liquidation here, and once again, we reach this position as we did before. We have the very, very nice center, a beautiful bishop on c4, two very nicely placed rooks, a very nice queen. If black decides to take on e4, well, this is a losing move. We play once again the move bishop takes f7 check, the exact same thing as before. If queen f7, queen e4, and if king f7, knight e5 check, this disconnects the queen and the knight, and then we can take on e4 safely, where we will eventually end up winning this game. So let's now go to the main move, knight to f6. Here we play pawn to c3, once again solidifying our big center. Black will very likely play bishop d6. This is the main move. Very, very important to understand, this pawn is never free for the taking for black. Black can never really take this pawn. This is a poisonous pawn. Okay, in this instance, it doesn't work, right? Because of this tactic, bishop f7, knight e5. But even if we didn't have this tactic, taking on e4 is so dangerous because this now also opens the e file. Okay, black is so underdeveloped here. We have such active development. Black can never really take this pawn on e4. Okay, so really keep this in mind. So bishop d6 is the main move. We play bishop to g5. And here black has one of three moves. Okay, either black is going to short castle, black will play h6, or queen to b6. Okay, let's have a look at each option. If black decides to go for pawn to h6, we need to ask ourselves the question, are we going to take on f6 or are we going to go back to h4? Okay, in the other variations, right, the other variations I mentioned were queen b6 and short castles. In those lines, you're going to have the move h6, which black can play. And either you're going to take on f6 or retreat to h4 and retreat most likely to f2. How are you going to know what to do? Okay, in general, you want to keep the bishop pair. So in general, you're looking to go back and preserve the bishop pair. But this is what you need to calculate every single time. If after h6, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, if black can successfully play the move knight to h5, this is bad for us. Why? Black is threatening to win our bishop. Black is threatening to put the knight on f4. Black has now also advanced the pawns. Black is looking to go for some queenside castle. This is not what we want, okay? The reason why in this instance, knight h5 is a mistake is because remember, we have the open f file, bishop takes f7 check. Okay, and after king f7, knight e5, we're picking up the bishop on g4, my apologies. So I will repeat it one more time. In general, we're looking to back up to h4 to preserve the bishop pair, but we just quickly need to calculate, can black successfully play g5, knight h5? If black can successfully play this, we are not looking to back up to h4, we're looking to take on f6, okay? So like I mentioned before, black cannot successfully get the move knight h5 in, so for this reason we back up to h4, g5, bishop g3, and a move like queen to e7. Okay. Against queen e7, I would simply play the move knight bd2, developing your knight. Black will most likely long castle, right? Short castle doesn't make any sense in this position. So this is the position we have reached. And now I'm going to show you guys a game between a 23 and a 2400 to see how this can maybe continue. White goes for queen a4, targeting the weak pawn on a7. The king slides. White brings the rook to the center. Bishop c7, queen b3, rook hf8, bishop a6, right? Black cannot take because of the pin. Bishop b6. And in this position, white finds a very nice blow. Knight takes e5. Okay, this works because of certain pin ideas. Knight takes e5. We bring the knight to c4. In this position, black goes knight d7. Very, very important. The move b takes a6. This move doesn't work because of bishop e5, king c8, knight b6. And at some point, we get bishop f6. Black is simply losing way too much material. So for this reason, black decides to go for knight d7. Okay, and the game continues. Bishop c4. Black is now advancing the kingside pawns. Okay, bishop h2. Pawn to g4. Black is really looking to open up the kingside. Okay, here we simply take on g4, not fearing the weak g file. Pawn d5, b5, and at some point you will realize that white is literally one tempo faster. Black here goes for the move queen h3, and we are simply one move faster. We take on c6, queen b7, rook d1 check, the king moves to e6, queen b3, queen b4, we take on d7, we bring our rook to f2. This is the bone. The second we get rook f2 in, h2 is completely protected, and white is simply completely winning here. Queen e6, rook g2, pawn to f6, queen d6 offering a queen trade, rook takes e4, we take the queens, rook g8 check, and in this position we have the very, very nice move, bishop to c7. This completely finishes off the game. If the rook moves along the a file, we have rook g8 check, which is going to end up picking up the rook, and in this position black decides to resign. Okay, so going all the way back, we play the move bishop to h4, right? Not fearing this whole g5, knight h5, just to recap. And because black has pushed these two pawns, black isn't going to castle kingside, black will castle queenside, and we get this opposite side castling battle. So we've looked at the move pawn to h6. What else can black do in this position? Well, another move which black can play is the move queen to b6. Very, very important. The move queen takes b2 is not to be feared, right? Black's whole idea is that we have moved the bishop out to g5. This pawn on b2 is now weak, but do not fear. Black cannot take this pawn on b2. Here we simply play knight bd2. So what if black takes on b2? Well, here we simply play the move bishop takes f7 check, king takes f7, bishop takes f6, and now black can either take with the g pawn or with the knight. If g takes f6, we go knight g5 check. We're now going to pick up the bishop on g4. And after queen takes d2, we get in with our queen, knight f7. This is a fork. The game is completely lost for black. And what if instead of the pawn, black takes the bishop with the knight? Well, here we simply have the very simple move knight to c4. We're threatening the queen. We're threatening the bishop. We're going to win the piece back. The king on f7 is terrible. We're most likely going to win this game. So queen to b6 is really nothing to fear. The final move we'll be looking at is the move short castle. This really is the main move. After black castles short, we play the move knight bd2. And after something like queen c7, as I mentioned before, the very nice move queen e1. Okay, we're looking to bring our queen to h4, really just put that pressure on the king side. Another nice maneuver which we have is the move knight h4, knight f5. So with these two motives in mind, how can the game continue? Well, for this, I have prepared two game continuations between very, very strong players, and let's have a look at the first one. So in the first game, black plays the move pawn to b5, and very, very important, try not to memorize the moves, try to understand the core ideas. Okay, we bring our bishop back to b3, bishop to h5, we play the move queen h4 as I mentioned, we bring our rook to the middle, rook ae8, we slide our king to h1. This is a very, very common idea, getting out of this diagonal. You'll see this very often in these types of positions. Black slides the king to h8, and in this position we have the very nice move knight takes e5, really opening up the board. Bishop e5, d e5, queen e5, we rotate our knight to f3, the queen has to go back, We bring our bishop to f4, and I mean just look at the domination of our pieces. We have the bishop pair, and I mean just look at the power of the pieces. In this position, black decided to move the queen to b6. Here we played the very nice move bishop to d6, forcing the rook to move. And here we played knight g5, we took the knight on e5, we took on f7, we took on f7 again, and in this position, black moved the rook to f8, we take on f6, and after queen d8, the very, very nice blow, bishop to g6. And in this position, black simply resigned. So you can really see the kind of positions you can reach in this variation. Really just try and remember this queen e1, queen h4 idea, and then it's really just about bringing the pieces to the king side and looking for that break. So that was the first game. The way the second game continued is with the move bishop to h5. Okay, once again, we slide our queen, getting out of this diagonal, rook a e8, and in this position, white plays the move knight h4, right? Remember, this is the second motive we looked at, rotating your knight to f5. E takes d4, c takes d4, bishop takes h2. Black is now a pawn up. Okay, we're a pawn down here, but it doesn't matter. We bring our knight to f5. White is much better in this position, even though we're a pawn down. Bishop g6, we bring our queen to h4, so actually we use now both of these motives. Bishop takes f5, we take on f5 with the rook. Bishop g3, queen h3, black takes on e4. Black is now 2 pawns up, but after knight takes e4, rook takes e4, we bring our rook to f1, and I mean just look at the domination of our pieces. Can you really tell me that black is better? Yes, black is up 2 pawns, but just look at how nicely our pieces are placed. Okay, in this position, black plays knight b6, attacking our bishop. We bring our bishop back to d3, and after rook takes d4, we have the winning move, rook takes f7. Black takes on f7 with the rook, and queen h7, queen h8 is checkmate. Okay, Jeffrey Zhong with the white pieces won this game in 24 moves. Okay, against a 2377 rated opponent. This just shows the power of the fantasy Caro Kann. So that's basically everything I have about the bishop g4 variation. Remember, we play bishop c4. Black has a lot of traps to avoid, right? Remember, we always have some bishop f7, knight e5. Really scan for this idea. And yeah, we castle kingside. We play c3 to solidify. Bishop g5, knight bd2, and the very nice rotate, queen e1, queen h4. We can also bring our knight to f5, and we get very, very nice kingside play. So we looked at the move bishop to g4, but what is another move which black can play? So the second most common move is e takes d4. Here we reply with bishop to c4, and here black needs to tread very, very carefully. So just to illustrate that point, if black plays something like bishop to g4, we have the very simple tactic, bishop f7, knight e5, right, winning the bishop. If black decides to play bishop to b4 check, well, this loses to c3, dc3, and the very nice move bishop f7 followed by queen b3. Okay, always look out for these loose bishops. If a bishop is loose, very often you're gonna have some kind of tactic related to bishop f7. If black decides to play the move knight to f6, here we simply castle, and after say bishop to e7, we play the very, very nice sequence knight g5, short castle, knight takes f7, rook f7, bishop f7, king f7, and the final move pawn to e5. Really look at this open f file that we have from playing the fantasy Caro Kann. If instead of bishop to e7, black decides to play the move bishop to c5, it's the exact same thing. Okay, we play the move knight g5. Remember, this move pawn to d3, yes, it's a discovery, but this is not dangerous. We can always play king h1. This is never something to fear. And after black castles, we have the very nice move bishop takes f7. If rook f7, we play knight f7, king f7, pawn to e5, very similar to as we did before. And if after bishop f7, black goes king h8, here we play the move pawn to e5, okay, removing the defender of the h7 square and the h5 square. Black can give this check. This is not dangerous. We simply slide our king to h1. If the knight moves somewhere, say to d5, we have the nice move queen to h5. Right, remember, this knight was guarding the h5 square. Now that it's moved, not anymore. In this position, we are simply threatening checkmate. So black either has to sacrifice their queen or play the move pawn to h6. If black plays h6, we have the very nice move queen to g6. And after hg5, queen h5 check. This is checkmate. We have won the game. And real quick, the reason why we play bishop takes f7 in this variation with the bishop on c5 and not the move knight takes f7, this would be a mistake because black now has the move queen to e7 to their disposal, right? And this comes with a level of pressure. In the other variation, remember the bishop was on e7. Let me go back quickly. Here black played bishop to e7, okay? And after this whole sequence, we can play knight takes f7 because black doesn't have the additional resource queen to e7. So really keep this in mind. Another move which black can play is the move bishop to e6. Okay, here we play the move bishop takes e6, f takes e6, right, ruining the pawn structure. Here we simply castle, and if black plays knight to f6, here we have the very nice move e5, knight e4, knight to e1. This is computer chess at its finest here. We play knight e1 because we are looking to play queen f3. Okay, we are slowly preparing this move, and also we are looking to blockade on the d3 square. So if black plays bishop c5, like I mentioned, we play knight d3. We are plus 2.5 in this position. Black now plays queen to d5, defending the bishop, queen g4, and I mean, just look at the power of our pieces here. This is where I would stop the analysis. The engine gives approximately plus 2.4, plus 2.3. We have a very comfortable position here. So we looked at bishop to c5. What if alternatively, black plays the move queen d5? Well, here we play queen f3, right? We are threatening to get in on f7. And if black plays the move king d8, we play knight d3, once again utilizing this blockade. And after knight d7, we rotate to f4, okay? And if black is careless and plays queen takes c5, well, guess what? Rook u1. If knight g5, knight takes c6. This is a beautiful deflection. If black takes with the knight, we win the queen. And if black takes with the queen, we take the knight with check, and then we win the queen. So just to quickly show this on the board, if knight takes e6, we take the queen. This is easy. And if queen takes e6, we take the knight with check, and then we're going to end up winning the queen. This is completely winning. And funnily enough, for this reason, the best move in this position is actually king to c8. And in this position, we have an absolutely devastating move, or a devastating idea. You simply need to understand, our queen is under attack and our rook is under attack. So we need to play a move which counters both of these threats. And the way we do this is we have to retreat our queen. Queen to f1. This is the best move in the position. An absolutely beautiful, calm move. Okay, this is where I'd stop the analysis. We are completely winning here. There's really not much to say here. So that was a lot of tactics there, but really just remember this knight to e1 followed by knight d3 followed by queen f3. Really remember this idea. If instead of knight f6, black decides to play bishop to e7, well, here we simply take on d4, looking to take on e6. Black has to defend. And in this position, we have the very nice move knight to a3, really looking to bring our knight to c4. The engine in this position, just for some reference, gives plus 2.7 here. The material is equal, but we have the open f file. Our pieces are much better placed. We have a nice e-pawn. We are much better. So this is what happens after bishop to e6. And for all of these reasons, the only legitimate move is knight d7. Okay? Let me tell you right now, there's a very high chance you're going to get any of these other moves instead of knight d7. But let's look at knight d7. Here we play short castles, knight gf6, and once again the very nice move queen to e1. Please just remember this move. This whole idea of rotating your queen to the king side, right? You're anticipating black to castle king side. Because black played c6, this diagonal is very weak. So black castling queenside isn't really advisable. Black will very likely castle kingside and prepare this by bringing your pieces to the kingside. Pawn to e5, knight d5, take, we play queen g3, we're looking to take on g7, and in this position black is virtually forced to play the move pawn to g6. This is very weakening here. We have the move bishop to h6 here. We're really going to take advantage of these dark squared weaknesses. The reason why black has to play the move pawn to g6, if black gets lazy and castles, we have bishop to h6, we're threatening checkmate, black now has to play g6. Remember, this e5 pawn is playing such a vital role, not allowing this bishop to come to f6. Black will have to play g6, we're going to win the rook, and we're going to win the game. After we have induced black to play this very weakening move, pawn to g6, we can simply take on d4, knight c5, we can rotate our queen to f3, looking to take on f7, and after bishop to e6, right, defending against our threat, we can play a very nice move like knight to c3. This is where I'd stop the analysis. Black has so many weaknesses on the king side. Black has a lot of weaknesses on the queen side. To be quite honest with you, it's probably best for black to not castle their king whatsoever and just hold against this f7 pawn. Not ideal for black whatsoever. So that's everything I have against e takes d4. Let's look at the final move, bishop to e6. Okay, this move is not played very often. It's a very uncommon move, but the whole point of this move is that it's now very difficult for us to actually get our bishop to c4 because black is controlling that square. That's kind of the whole point. Usually, black will put the bishop on g4. This is the natural square. You develop your bishop in these positions, and we will play bishop to c4. So we have both very, very good bishops. Now, because black has the bishop on e6, instead of c4, we put it on d3. And what's nice about what I've prepared is that we play in the exact same way as we would against the bishop to g4 variation, the only difference being, instead of our bishops on g4 and c4, they're now going to be on e6 and d3. Everything else will be the exact same. So let's see how this can look. We play the move pawn to c3, okay, solidifying our center. And now black will play the following moves in an interchangeable order. Knight to f6, bishop d6, knight bd7. So in any order, black will play these three moves. Knight d7, we bring our bishop to d3 like I mentioned. We can't bring our bishop to c4. Bishop d6, we castle short. Knight gf6, here we play bishop to g5 as we would in the bishop to g4 variation. And here it gets important. If black plays h6 in this position, it's super, super important that we take the knight on f6. Why? If we retreat back to h4, what was the rule I said? If black can successfully get knight h5 in, we should not retreat, we should take on f6. And if you guys can remember, the reason we could retreat with our bishop is that after knight h5, we had the move bishop takes f7 check, followed by knight takes e5 check, and we could end up winning the bishop on g4. Remember, in that position, our bishop was on c4, and black's bishop was on g4. But now that black's bishop is on e6, we do not have any f7 business. So for this reason, if we did go bishop to h4, this is an inaccuracy precisely because of g5, bishop g3, knight h5. Black is threatening to take our bishop, which will damage our structure. And if we move our bishop to f2, for example, black will either play g4 or bring the knight to f4. This is not what we want. Okay, black will then play something like queen c7, castle long, e takes d4, opening everything. This is a nightmare for white. And precisely for this reason, we take on f6, knight takes f6, we bring our knight to d2. Very likely, black will play e takes d4 to open the bishop. Here, very important, we recapture with the knight. The reason why c takes d4 would be an inaccuracy is because of the move knight to g4. Okay, black is threatening to jump into e3, and very often, after something like queen c7, is also threatening some h2 business. So stay away from that. We take with the knight. If here black tries to go for the move knight g4, well, this is now very, very different. Here we can take on e6, right, removing the defender of the knight, and now black is basically all in for a certain sequence. Black has to go bishop h2, queen h4. Black basically has to go all in, but this is not dangerous, okay? Here, you just simply need to remember knight to f3, and there's literally no attack here. How can this continue? Here, black will either play queen to g3 or knight f2 check. Let's begin with the move queen g3. This is not dangerous whatsoever. Here we simply have to remember, we take on g7, we bring our knight back to h5, the black queen is forced to retreat, and here even something like bishop to c4 is more than enough here. There is no attack here. Yes, black has a complete monopoly of the dark squares, but there's literally no attack. We are up a piece. If black trades the queens here, well, then we are completely winning. And even if black doesn't trade the queens, we're looking to play e5 maybe. We have queen b3, we have rook a d1, we are completely winning. For this reason, the move knight f2 check is a bit more of a tricky try. Here we have to play rook takes f2, it's the only legal move. And after queen takes f2, we have an absolutely phenomenal move, okay? Very important. If you want to just play a move like queen to b3, this is more than enough, okay? Also very important, we cannot play knight c7 check. This is not a fork. Remember, bishops can move backwards. Okay, really remember this bishop here. And with precisely that in mind, precisely the fact that this bishop is defending the c7 square, we have a beautiful move, pawn to e5. This interferes the connection of the bishop, and if black takes on e6, well, this is simply completely lost. This is a mate in 4, bishop g6 check, king f8, queen d6, king g8, we take on e6, queen f7 check, this is checkmate, the game is lost. So black cannot take the knight on e6. What else can black do? Well, the only smart thing to do is to move the king so that knight e7 isn't a check anymore. So king e7, for example, here we have the very nice move, queen to b3. Okay, we're looking at queen b7. If in this position, black takes on e6, here we play queen b7, we force the king to the back rank, we can take on a8, followed by on h8, but even cleaner is the move rook d1. This is going to be a forced checkmate after something like bishop takes e5, bishop g6 check, bishop d4, we take, the queen has to sacrifice, we take with the knight, and the nail in the coffin, knight e6, this is checkmate. So black once again cannot take on e6. If black plays rook a b8, this defends against the threat of queen takes b7. Well, in this position, we have the very, very nice move, queen to a3. Once again, if black plays king takes e6, we checkmate on d6. Once again, the e6 knight is invincible. If black plays the move king e8, well, this is going to lead to checkmate. Knight g7, king d7, queen d6, king c8, bishop to f5, this is checkmate. So for this reason, the only legitimate move is pawn to c5. Okay, remember the queen is holding the c5 pawn. Here we simply play knight takes c5, and after something like king d8, knight e6 check, this is completely winning here. If f takes e6, queen d6, we take a couple times, bishop f5, once again is checkmate. And if king c8, bishop to f5, this is also going to lead to checkmate. Really, really beautiful tactics. I mean, really no words here. This knight on e6 is invincible. So what I'm getting at here, if we rewind, the move knight g4 is not dangerous precisely because of knight takes e6. Black will have this forced sequence. It's not dangerous whatsoever. We play knight to f3. We play the correct move, queen to b3. This is completely winning. If instead of knight g4, black plays bishop to c5, this is the correct move. Here we rotate our other knight to f3. This is also a reason why we take with the knight. So we can now bring our other knight to f3. Knight g4, queen e2. After something like knight to e5, we can play the move king to h1. This is about where I would stop the analysis here. The position objectively is equal. In fact, black has a smidge here. The engine gives approximately minus 0.2. But truthfully, who do you think has the advantage here? We have the open f file. Our king is out of the pin. Black still isn't castled. Yes, black has the bishop pair, but it's not really an open board. We control this d4 square so strongly that this bishop isn't actually doing that much on this diagonal here. So we looked at pawn to h6. If instead black plays queen to c7, we bring our knight to d2. And if here black plays h6, once again we ask ourselves the question, can we keep the bishop pair? Let's have a look. Bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, knight h5. We don't have some bishop f7 check. This is not going to work. We have to take on f6. Okay? And after knight to f6, we bring our bishop to c4. Now the game will lead to a huge liquidation, more likely than not. Black will play e takes d4, opening up the bishop. This is a very common idea from black. We play bishop takes e6. If black plays f takes e6, this is actually an inaccuracy because of c takes d4. Here we have a very, very nice center. We're threatening pawn to d5. If we get d5 in successfully, we can also rotate our knight to e4 and then potentially to d6. So for this reason, the correct move is dc3. Okay, now we play the move pawn to e5. So lots and lots of pieces are hanging here. The bishop is hanging, our knight is hanging. We're threatening a fork. The best move here is c takes d2. Here we take on d6, attacking the queen. Queen b6, king h1, f takes e6. We take on d2. This is the position we get. It's a complete liquidation. The engine here gives 0, 0, 0. And in general, this is what you have to know. Black is a pawn up. Okay. We have better development. right? Black's king is still in the center. Black still hasn't castled yet. And it's really just about, can we successfully use this d7 pawn to somehow negate the natural development of black's pieces? If black can play something like short castles and like double on the d-file, that is a dream position for black. We have to use every tempo very sparingly. So we are looking at maybe some knight e5, knight g6, maybe queen d3 or queen c2 followed by queen g6 attacking g7. We're really looking for dynamic play while black is still underdeveloped. So that's if in this position, after queen c7, knight b d2, black plays h6. What if black castles instead of playing h6? Here, once again, we play queen to e1. Really remember this rotate. It's like I mentioned, it's the exact same as before. We bring our bishop to g5, we bring our knight to d2. It's the exact same as before. Queen e1, queen h4, maybe we bring our knight to f5. It's the exact same as the bishop to g4 variation, with the only difference being our bishop is on d3 instead of c4, and black's bishop is on e6 instead of g4. Otherwise, it's the exact same. And precisely for this reason, I do not have any games to show, because the ideas are the exact same. We are looking for kingside pressure. Real quick, precisely because of that position I showed you before, where it was a complete and utter liquidation, it was a draw given by the engine, black was a pawn up. Precisely because of that position, lots of people don't play c3 here. If because of that, this doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. You can also play knight bd2. This is a bit of a sneaky move here, very uncommon, and you are actually looking to play bishop to c4 by force, right? Black's whole idea of putting the bishop on e6 was preventing you to get your bishop on an active square. But with your knight on d2, yes, your knight is a little bit on a bad square, blocking the development of the dark squared bishop. You need to understand, very often black will take this bishop, and then you will have a very nice square for your knight, and your bishop will be able to come out. So real quick, I don't want to delve into this too much. If black takes on d4, we play bishop to c4. Black will most likely take on c4. We bring our knight to c4. This is now a position we kind of get here. If black plays something like bishop to c5 here, we castle, d3, king h1, and after something like, say, pawn to b5, we can bring our knight to the center. This is kind of a position we reach. If instead black plays bishop to b4 check, here we simply block with bishop d2, and if bishop d2, queen d2, b5, once again we bring our knight to the center, and this is kind of a position we have here. It's a bit of an interesting position. It's a little bit different. It's definitely imbalanced, and if this resonates with you, you can absolutely play this instead. However, it's not my recommendation. So this marks the end of the third video of the Fantasy Caro Kann Masterclass, the d takes e4 variation. Real quick to summarize, after d takes e4, we take back with our pawn. Black has to play e5, okay? We play knight f3, and there black simply has three options, either bishop g4, e takes d4, or bishop to e6. Against bishop to g4, we are looking to play c3, we are looking to get our pieces out naturally, castle short, queen e1, queen h4, we're looking to rotate our knight to f5. This is what we're looking for. Against the bishop to e6 variation, we are looking to do the exact same. But remember, once we play bishop g5 there, if black goes h6, we have to take on f6 and give up the bishop pair. Because our bishop is not on c4, we do not have these bishop f7, knight e5 tactics. And finally, if after d takes e4, f takes e4, e5, knight f3, e takes d4, we enter the Maroczy gambit after bishop c4. Black has to tread very carefully here. If black plays all of the correct moves, remember, we play knight e1 after castling short, looking to blockade on d3, looking for queen f3. To be completely honest with you, if you enter this variation, there is a much larger chance black will simply blunder because of all of the tricks and traps. And with that being said, this marks the end of the third video. Once again, I will mention the PGN file is linked in the description. Make sure to take a look at that. I made sure to annotate that. It should be ready to go. And without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys in the fourth video of my Fantasy Caro Kann Masterclass. See you guys.